Hello everyone. On this video we will be looking at pyramids and the frustums of pyramids. Okay, so first we're going to look at what a pyramid is. A pyramid is a solid object with one base and three or more lateral surfaces that meet at a single point called the apex. Okay, now a right pyramid has a base that is a regular polygon. And if you remember, regular polygon just means all the sides are the same length. Okay, and the apex is just over the center of the base. Okay, so I'm going to kind of slide this up a little bit and show you a few examples. Some of these may be a little hard to see. I have some others. But you have a triangular pyramid because the base is a triangle. You have the square pyramid when the base is a square. You have the rectangular pyramid when the base is a rectangle. You have a pentagonal pyramid when the base is a pentagon, hexagonal pyramid when the base is a hexagon, and octagonal pyramid when the base is an octagon. Now, these are a little bit easier to see. Okay, so here you see a square pyramid where your base right here is the square. A triangular pyramid because the base is a triangle, and a hexagonal pyramid when the base is a hexagon. Okay, so this one's a little easier to see even though it's only three of them. Okay, so of course a triangular pyramid is sometimes called a tetrahedron. So if you ever wonder what a tetrahedron is, it's just a triangular pyramid or a pyramid with a triangular base. All right. So if you are still writing this, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next page. Okay, so what if we let the letter P equal the perimeter of the base? And remember, to find the perimeter, you just add the length of the sides. What if S equals the slant height of the lateral surface? Okay, so when you have your base, for your lateral sides, of course, how many lateral sides you have depends on whether you have a triangular base, a square base, a rectangular base, an octagonal base. It all varies. But when you have the sides, or the lateral sides, the height of those sides we denote as S. That's your slant height. Okay. Now the A is the area of the base. Of course, the area will vary based on, of course, the base that you have. The base for a rectangle would not be the same formula for the base of a triangle. Okay, and you have your altitude, which is the distance from the center of the base all the way to the point here. Where on this one, you can see it's called an apex. Okay, so if you start right here in the center and you go all the way up to the apex, that's your altitude. Okay, so the formula for your lateral surface, area rather, is L equals 1/2 the perimeter of the base times the slant height. Okay, now if you want to find your volume, the volume is 1/3 times the area of the base times your altitude. Now if you want to find the total surface area, that means if you wanted to find the surface area of all of the sides and the base, you literally just add those together. You add your lateral surface area, which are all of your sides, plus the area of your base. And that gives you the total surface area. All right, so if you are still writing this, of course, feel free to press pause. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our first example. Okay, so what if we wanted to find the lateral surface area and volume of this pyramid? And we wanted to round it to the nearest tenth. Okay, so you can see here that this side is 8 and this side is 8. So obviously all sides of this base are the same. So you have a square base. Okay, so you have your altitude and you have your slant height. So if you have your altitude, slant height, and all of that, we're going to notice the base is a square. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is identify our perimeter of the base, our slant height, our altitude, and the area of the base. Okay, so that's going to be our first step. Okay, now the perimeter of the base, remember that's just adding all of the sides of the base together. So since it's a square, you know it's 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Okay, so you have 8 inches, well, 8 feet rather, plus 8 feet, plus 8 feet, plus 8 feet. Okay, so we know that our perimeter of the base is equal to 32 feet. All right. Now we want to find our slant height. Actually, that was given to us along with the altitude. So our slant height is approximately 10.77 feet. And of course, this means that it's approximated. It's not exactly 10.77, but it's really, really close to it. So that's good enough. We know our altitude is equal to 10 feet. Now we just have to find the area of the base. Okay, so let me move this up a little bit. Now the area of the base, because the base is a square, remember whenever you're figuring out the area of your base, I always recommend kind of blocking it off. Area of the base, which is a square, is base times height. Okay, now with this square, it looks like that, where it's 8 and 8. So you have the base times height, which is 8 feet times 8 feet, which is 64 square feet. Okay, so we have everything we need to solve this. Okay, so we have our lateral surface area. Okay, so our lateral surface area is equal to 1/2 the perimeter of the base times the slant height. And I'll draw a little line through my S so it won't be mistaken for a 5 anywhere. Okay, so that's 1/2 times the perimeter, which is 32 feet, times the slant height, which is 10.77 feet, or approximately that. So our lateral surface area, if you multiply 1/2, or you can replace 1/2 with 0.5, times 32 times 10.77 is 172.32 squared feet. If we round it to the nearest tenth, is 172.3 square feet. Okay, so that's our lateral surface area, or the area of all of the sides. Okay, now if we want our volume, remember our volume, let's move that up a little bit, is equal to 1/3 times the area of the base times the altitude. Okay, so that's going to equal 1/3 times 64 square feet, since that's the, where is it? Surface area, not surface area, area of the base, times the altitude, which we already know is 10 feet. Okay, so that's going to equal, move that up a little bit, 1/3, 640 times 10 is 640 cubic feet. Okay, so 640 times 1/3, or 640 divided by 3, is approximately 213.333 cubic feet. And of course, that keeps on going forever and ever and ever. But if we round it to the nearest tenth, 213.3 cubic feet. Okay, and that is our volume. All right. So if you are still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next example. Oops. There we go. Okay. So what if we wanted to find the total surface area of the hexagonal pyramid below? And we round it to 3 significant digits. Okay, so what I want you to do is go ahead and pause it and try this one on your own. All right, so I'm assuming you've paused it, and let's go ahead and verify your answer. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is find the perimeter of your base, the slant height, the altitude, and the area of the base. Okay, so the perimeter of the base, remember this is a regular polygon, so all of these sides are the same. So you have 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5. So you have that 6 times. So 3.5, you could say 3.5 times 6, but I'll just put 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5 plus 3.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we know that perimeter of the base is equal to 21 yards. When you add 3.5 yards 6 times. All right, so we already know our slant height because it was actually given to us. That was approximated, so we use the little squiggly equal signs, 12.38 yards. We see the altitude, the distance from the base to the apex. So we know that our altitude is equal to 12.0 yards, or you can just put 12 yards. The 0.0 isn't really necessary. Okay. Now we have to find the area of the base. Okay, and in this case, the base is a hexagon. Okay, now the area of a hexagon, if you remember, is approximately equal to 2.598 times a squared. Okay, now in this case, a is equal to 3.5. So you have 2.598 times 3.5 yards squared. Let me clean that up a little bit. All right, we kind of finish this up over here. So this will equal, if you have 3.5 times 3.5 times 2.598, that will equal approximately 31.8255 square yards. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, since we have everything we need, find our lateral surface area. Okay, so our lateral surface area is equal to 1/2 times perimeter times the slant height. So that's going to equal 1/2 times the perimeter of the base, which is 21 yards, times the slant height, which is 12.38 yards. Multiply those two together, then multiply it by 0.5, that will equal 129.99 square yards. Because you have your yards times yards. All right. Now, if you have your total surface area, that's what we're looking for. Had to remember what we were looking for here. Nope, move that up. There we go. Kind of. Okay. Remember, your total surface area is equal to the lateral surface area plus the area of the base. Okay, so this is going to equal your lateral surface area, which is 129.99. Oh, forgot my yards before I close that off. There we go. Square yards plus the area of the base, which is 31.8255 square yards. Okay, so if we go ahead and add those two together, it'll be 161.8155 square yards. But remember, we want to round that to 3 significant digits. So this will become 162 square yards once we have our rounded answer. All right. So if you're still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our next page, which goes over the frustum. Okay, so if you have any pyramid, it doesn't matter which one you have. If you get that pyramid and you go directly parallel to the base and you chop off a section of it, doesn't matter how big the section you chop off. You can chop off just a little bit up here, or you can chop off a lot down there, or you can chop it off right in the middle. If you chop it off, just a bit of the top, what's left at the bottom is called the frustum. Okay, so everything to solve for the frustum is actually down here. So what if we let our p sub 1 equal the upper perimeter? Okay, so that means the perimeter of the upper part of the frustum, or the upper base. Let P2 equal the lower perimeter. So you have your lower base right here. So you have your upper and lower base. Okay, so you want to get the perimeter of both of those. Let's say your A sub 1 is your upper base area. Okay, so you want the area of your upper base. And A2 is the lower base area. So you want the area of your lower base. Okay, so just make sure you know that for your upper and lower base, you want the perimeter and area, the perimeter and the area. Okay, and S is once again the slant height, and that'll usually be like posted right here, or you may see it written on the side. And the H is your altitude, which again goes from the center of the lower base to the center of the upper base. Okay, so here's another isolated drawing here, which is already up here, but bigger up here wouldn't hurt. So you have your area and the perimeter, and the area and the perimeter. All right, so if you're still writing this, feel free to pause it, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the next page. Oh, I didn't give you the formula. That would help. For the frustum of a pyramid, to find the lateral surface area, Okay, your lateral surface area is equal to the slant height divided by 2 times the first perimeter and the second perimeter. The volume okay, so your volume is going to equal your altitude divided by 3 times a sub 1, or your first area, or your upper area, plus your lower area, plus the square root of your upper and lower area multiplied. Okay, so we're going to do an example of that, so don't worry. And you have your total surface area. Okay, so your total surface area is just your lateral surface area plus the area of your two bases. Okay, so these three formulas is really all you will need for this one. All right, so if you're still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and move on to our example. There, now we can go to this one. Okay, so for this one, we want to find the lateral surface area and volume for this frustum and round our answer to 3 significant digits. Okay, so you can see here, this upper area, this side has a length of 3, and this side has a length of 7, so you can see that it's a square. Okay, both bases are square. Okay, so the first thing we want to do when we're dealing with a frustum is find A1, A2, P1, and P2. Okay, so we'll start with the upper perimeter. I always start with the perimeter because it's easier. You can always just count the sides. Okay, so the upper perimeter okay, so you have 3 yards. So you know this side is 3 yards, the rest of them are 3 yards. So you have 3 yards plus 3 yards plus 3 yards plus 3 yards. Okay, so we know our perimeter of our first base is equal to 12 yards. What about our lower perimeter? Okay, we see this side is 7 yards, so we know 7 yards, 7 yards, 7 yards, and 7 yards. Okay, so it's going to equal 7 yards plus 7 yards plus 7 yards plus 7 yards. Okay, so our second perimeter is going to equal 28 yards. All right. Now we go to our lower area and upper area. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Okay, so our lower area is equal to, let's say, 7 yards, and let's stay there. So our a sub 1, since it's a square, is equal to the base times the height. And in this case, their base and height are the same. Equal to 7 yards times 7 yards. So our A1 is equal to 49 square yards. Okay. So what about our upper area? And because it's square, we know it's going to equal base times height, but in this case, your base and height are equal to 3 yards. And again, whenever dealing with the area, always kind of block it off just to avoid any confusion. Okay. So our second area is going to equal 3 yards times 3 yards. So we know our second area is equal to 9 square yards. All right. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and find our lateral surface area. Okay, so we know that our lateral surface area is equal to our slant height divided by 2 times our first perimeter plus our second perimeter. Okay, so that's going to equal our slant height divided by 2, so that's 4.5 for our, move that down a little, slant height, so 4.5. So you have 4.5 yards divided by 2 times 12 yards plus 28 yards. Okay, so our P1 plus P2. Okay, so this is going to equal 4.5 divided by 2 is 2.25 yards times 12 plus 28 is 40 yards, which is going to equal 90 square yards. Okay, so we have our lateral surface area. Now we're going to look at our volume. Remember, your volume for frustum is equal to your altitude divided by 3 times the upper area plus the lower area plus the square root of the upper area times the lower area. Okay, so if we go ahead and plug it in, our altitude, you can see here, let me lower this a little, is equal to 4 yards. You have 4 yards divided by 3 times the first area, which is 9 square yards, plus the second area, which is 49 square yards, plus the square root of 9 yards times 49 yards, square yards. Okay, so if you get the square root of both of those and then you add 9 and 49, if you calculate all this together, you should get 105.333, and it keeps on going, cubic yards. And since we want to round it to 3 significant digits, it's just 105 cubic yards. All right, so as long as you know how to separate and look for your areas, and you have to look for your slant height, and you know how to plug everything in, you should be okay here. All right, so hopefully this made sense, and I'll see you on the next video.